The quiet of a moonlit forest is broken by the sudden hum of an approaching alien craft. Branches sway in the artificial wind as the sleek, silver Krelter ship descends. Its underside glows ominously, casting an eerie light over the clearing. An old man steps into view, his back slightly hunched but his steps deliberate. His clothes are worn, patched in places, and his hands clasp a sturdy walking stick. Despite his humble appearance, his eyes gleam with a sharp intelligence, scanning the ship as it lands with mechanical precision. The ramp lowers, revealing a squad of Krelter guards clad in sleek, black armor. Their insect-like faces twist in amusement as they observe the lone human below. "Is this the best Earth has to offer?" One of them clicks, his mandibles twitching with disdain. Another guard chuckles, his voice reverberating through the translator device. "They're pathetic. Old, slow, and frail. We could conquer this planet in a single cycle." The old man doesn't react, his gaze calm as he leans lightly on his stick. A younger guard hesitates, watching the man's serene expression with a trace of unease. "Doesn't he look too calm?" the young guard mutters, his grip tightening on his weapon. "Calm?" the leader sneers. "He's probably too senile to understand what's happening. Let's get this over with." Two guards step forward, activating restraint bands that snap around the old man's wrists. He doesn't resist, tilting his head slightly as if humoring their efforts. "Nice toys you've got," he remarks, his voice gravelly yet steady. "Hope they're worth what you paid." The young guard flinches at the man's words, but the others laugh, dismissing him as harmless. They march him up the ramp, the ship's ceiling shut behind them with a hiss. Inside the vessel, the Krelter officers stand around a console, discussing the capture. Their mandibles click in rhythm, a sign of satisfaction. "Human military intelligence will be easy to extract," one of them declares. "They don't even know we're here. This one will talk fast enough." The old man, seated in a containment chair, raises an eyebrow. "Military intelligence? From me? You might have picked the wrong guy for that job." The leader smirks, his elongated fingers tapping a control panel. "You'll talk soon enough. Our methods are persuasive." Sure, the man replies, his tone light. "Just don't hurt yourselves trying." The young guard shifts uncomfortably as the old man's faint smile lingers. Something about his demeanor seems off, like he's fully in control despite the restraints. As the Krelter discuss their plans, the old man takes in his surroundings with a subtle glance. High-tech walls hum with energy, alien glyphs flicker on displays, and the guard's movements reveal a disciplined yet predictable pattern. He leans back, his smile widening ever so slightly. The younger guard finally speaks up. "Commander, something about him. It doesn't feel right. What if he's not just some random human?" The commander scoffs. "You're too inexperienced to see how weak they are. He's nobody. A relic from a dying species." The old man chuckles softly, drawing their attention. "A relic, huh? Funny word that." Before anyone can question him further, a metallic voice echoes through the room, announcing their arrival at the Krelter command ship. The old man is escorted out of the containment chair and into a smaller cell. "Make yourself comfortable," the commander sneers. "You'll have plenty of time to reflect on your pathetic species." As the cell door closes, the old man scans the alien tech one last time before sitting on the cold bench. He folds his hands on his lap, his expression unreadable. Outside the cell, the young guard lingers, watching him through the translucent barrier. The man catches his gaze and tilts his head. "Ever wonder why some things don't go as planned?" the old man asks, his voice calm. The guard steps back, uneasy, as the man leans against the wall and closes his eyes, as if preparing for what's to come. The Krelter interrogation chamber hummed with energy, its walls lined with intricate glyphs and pulsating conduits. In the center of the room sat the old man, wrists bound loosely to the armrests of an angular, metallic chair. The room's centerpiece was a mind-probing device, a sphere of glowing tendrils suspended above him, shimmering with alien energy. 3 Krelter officers observed him from a control panel, their mandibles clicking with impatience. "This shouldn't take long," said the lead interrogator, a tall figure with scars running across his chitinous face. These humans are brittle. A little pressure and they shatter. The old man tilted his head, his lips curving into a faint smile. Brittle, you say? Funny, I don't feel like breaking today. The younger Krauter officer shifted uncomfortably but remained silent. The lead interrogator sneered, turning to his colleagues. He jokes now, but the probe will tear every secret from his primitive mind. Begin the sequence. As the tendrils of the device descended, a low hum filled the chamber. The old man glanced up, his gaze sharp and analytical, before closing his eyes. The energy flared briefly, and then sputtered. The tendrils retracted, sparking erratically. The lead interrogator's mandibles twitched in confusion. What's wrong with the probe? Maybe it's allergic to bad manners, the old man quipped, opening one eye. The technician at the console fumbled with the controls. It's malfunctioning, Commander. There's interference. Origin unknown. The old man leaned back, his voice calm. Alien tech can be tricky. Seen it fail plenty of times. Did you forget to calibrate for neurological variability? Or is it just shoddy craftsmanship? The lead interrogator glared at him. Silence! You know nothing of our technology. Oh, don't I? The old man replied, his tone dripping with mock innocence. Those energy conduits? They're unstable. Overloading them with redundant signals? Rookie mistake. But hey, I'm just a simple earthling. The younger officer whispered. Commander, he might know more than he's letting on. Nonsense, barked the lead. He turned back to the man, leaning in close. You will tell us everything about Earth's defenses, its military capabilities, and its leadership. You can cooperate, or we can make this very unpleasant. The old man met his gaze without flinching. Unpleasant? Son, I've been through worse in a dentist's chair. Try me. Frustrated, the lead interrogator slammed a clawed hand on the console. Enough games! He stepped forward, looming over the old man, and raised an appendage to strike. Before he could react, the old man shifted slightly, pressing 2 fingers into a spot just beneath the alien's upper thorax. The Krauter froze, his limbs locking up as he let out a startled hiss. The room fell silent. The other officers stared in shock as the old man leaned forward, his expression calm. Pressure points. Your kind has them too. Handy little things, aren't they? The lead interrogator stumbled back as the paralysis wore off, clutching his chest. You! How do you know that? Let's just say I've had my share of encounters, the old man replied, his voice carrying an edge now. And I've learned a thing or two along the way. Your kind isn't as mysterious as you think. The younger officer stepped forward, his voice trembling. Who are you? The old man's smile returned, faint but sharp. Just someone who's been around. Seen a few things. Done a few things. His gaze grew distant for a moment, as if recalling events far removed from the room they occupied. Then he spoke again, his tone measured but laden with meaning. Tell me, have you ever heard of the Deneb conflict? Or the siege of Alcaron Prime? No? Thought not. You see, I don't just know about these things, I was there. The room fell into stunned silence. The lead interrogator's mandibles quivered as he struggled to process the implications. That's impossible. Those are classified galactic events. No human wouldn't know about them? The old man interrupted. Well, let's just say humans aren't quite as primitive as you like to think. He leaned back in the chair, folding his hands in his lap. And if you were smart, you'd start asking yourselves a much more important question. What happens next? Before anyone could respond, a klaxon sounded, and the lights in the room dimmed. A synthetic voice echoed through the chamber. Warning, unauthorized signal detected. Communication breach in progress. The old man's smile widened ever so slightly as the aliens scrambled to identify the source of the breach. Looks like you've got bigger problems now, he said, his voice calm but pointed. The younger officer stared at him, wide-eyed. What did you do? The old man didn't answer, his enigmatic smile the only response as the chaos unfolded around him. The old man sat quietly, his hands resting on his knees, as the Krauter officers fumbled with their consoles. The warning klaxon blared intermittently, but he seemed unaffected, his sharp eyes studying their every move. The lead interrogator spun around, frustration etched across his face. "You've tampered with something. What are you? Some kind of technician?" The old man chuckled softly. "Technician? No, not exactly. But I do have a bit of a history." He leaned forward slightly, his gaze locking onto the commander. "You Krauter really should do your homework before abducting random humans. Some of us aren't as harmless as we look." The younger officer, still shaken from earlier, dared to ask, "Who are you?" The old man sighed, leaning back. "It's funny. You come all this way, thinking you're so far above us, yet you don't even know what you're dealing with. Name's not important. What matters is what I've done, and what I still can do." He paused, letting his words sink in, before continuing. "You see, for decades there's been a group back on Earth. We call it Section 0. You've never heard of it, of course, because we prefer it that way. Our job? Keep an eye on visitors like you. Sometimes we watch. Sometimes we intervene. And sometimes," his voice dropped, cold and sharp, "we make sure you don't come back." The alien stared at him in stunned silence. The lead interrogator's mandibles twitched as he hissed, "Lies. Humans lack the capability." "Do we?" The old man interrupted, his voice calm but laced with steel. "You've heard of the collapse of Warlord Karnak's empire, haven't you? Big news across the galaxy, I imagine. A battle fleet wiped out, supply chains sabotaged, his strongholds left vulnerable. Did you ever wonder how it happened?" The room fell deathly quiet. The younger officer's voice trembled as he asked, "You're saying that was you?" The old man's smile was thin and humorless. "Not just me. It was a team effort. But let's just say I was the one who walked into Karnak's flagship, disabled his systems, and sent his fleet into chaos. A little ingenuity, a little nerve, and one very big explosion." The lead interrogator sputtered. "Impossible! No human could infiltrate." "Oh, it wasn't easy," the old man admitted, cutting him off. "Took months of planning and a lot of luck. But that's the thing about humans, you underestimate us, and we surprise you. Every single time." The younger officer stepped back, his eyes wide. "The Phantom of Soul. That's what some called you. A myth, a ghost. It can't be true. Ghost, phantom, myth. Call it what you want," the old man replied. "But I was very real to the people who crossed me. And now, here we are again. New faces, same mistake." The commander snarled, slamming his clawed hand against the console. "Your stories mean nothing. Humanity is weak, disorganized. You've only delayed the inevitable." The old man's smile returned, this time with a hint of amusement. "Weak? Disorganized? Maybe. But there's a funny thing about humans. We're stubborn. Adaptable. And when you push us too far, we push back harder than you can imagine." His tone shifted, growing darker. "You Krauter think you're so advanced, so untouchable. But you don't know the first thing about Earth. You think we're vulnerable because we don't flaunt what we have. But maybe, just maybe, that's part of the strategy. Ever think about that?" The commander hesitated, a flicker of doubt crossing his face. The old man leaned forward, his voice dropping to a near whisper. "Here's the thing about Earth, it's not the easy target you think it is. We've been watching. Preparing. You're not the first, and you won't be the last. But you might just be the ones who regret it the most." As his words hung in the air, the ship's alarm blared again, this time louder and more insistent. The synthetic voice echoed through the chamber. "Critical breach detected. External signal intercept confirmed." The aliens scrambled to their consoles, frantically trying to identify the source. The commander turned to the old man, his voice rising in panic. "What have you done?" The old man remained seated, his expression calm, almost amused. "Oh, I didn't do anything. But someone out there clearly knows I'm here. And if I were you, I'd start worrying about what happens next. The younger officer's hands trembled over the controls as he stammered. The signal. It's from Earth. High-energy burst, encrypted. They've located us. The old man's smile widened just enough to show teeth. Told you. Never underestimate us. The Krelter ship trembled as the alarms blared relentlessly, a cacophony of flashing lights and frantic clicks from the panicked officers. Outside, the darkness of space was suddenly pierced by the shimmering outline of a vessel emerging from the void, sleek, angular, and eerily silent. The younger officer gasped as the Earth ship decloaked, its metallic surface gleaming with unearthly precision. Impossible. Humans don't have this technology. The old man chuckled, reclining slightly in his chair as if enjoying the show. That's the thing about humans. We like to save the best for last. The Earth ship hovered menacingly, its weapons systems locking onto the Krelter vessel. A voice crackled over the Krelter comms, cold and unyielding. This is the ECS Shadow Strike. You have something of ours. Stand down immediately, or we'll take it by force. The lead interrogator's mandibles quivered as he barked. Shields up! Ready the weapons! The old man let out a low whistle. Shields? Against them? Oh, you sweet summer child. As if on cue, the Shadow Strike unleashed a warning shot, a concentrated energy pulse that rippled through the Krelter ship's hull, shutting down its defensive systems in an instant. Lights dimmed, consoles sparked, and the hum of the ship's engines faltered. The lead interrogator spun around, his tone desperate. What have you done? Me? The old man's grin widened. I just gave your systems a little nudge. You really shouldn't store all your critical processes in one network. Makes it awfully easy to override. But hey, I'm no expert. The commander stared in disbelief as the old man casually lifted his now unbound hands. You disabled our systems? Sure did. While you lot were busy bragging about your superiority, I was poking around your tech. Gotta say, it's impressive, but not exactly idiot-proof. He tapped his temple. Turns out, experience beats arrogance every time. The younger officer's voice wavered. You planned this? Even being captured? Of course, the old man replied with a wink. You Krelter think you're the hunters, but you're not the only ones who know how to set a trap. I let you bring me here so I could shut you down from the inside. And now, my friends out there get to do the cleanup. The lead interrogator lunged toward the controls in desperation, but the old man simply raised a hand. I wouldn't do that if I were you. See, I also rigged your core systems. One wrong move and, well, let's just say this ship will light up like fireworks on the 4th of July. The room fell silent except for the faint hum of the disabled ship. The Krelter officers exchanged glances, their earlier arrogance now replaced with fear and uncertainty. The old man stretched, standing up and brushing off his tattered clothes. Now, here's how this is gonna go. You're going to surrender, leave Earth alone, and maybe, just maybe, I'll make sure you get out of this alive. Sound fair? The lead interrogator hissed, his pride warring with his survival instincts. You wouldn't dare destroy us. The old man's expression hardened, his voice low and unyielding. Try me. The Shadow Strike calm crackled again, the voice sharper now. This is your final warning. Release our operative and power down your vessel, or we will consider this an act of war. The younger officer, visibly shaken, turned to the commander. We have no choice. They've disabled us completely. If we don't surrender. The commander's shoulders slumped, his defiance crumbling under the weight of reality. Fine. We surrender. The old man clapped his hands together. Smart choice. Now let's talk terms. The negotiations were brief but decisive. The Krelter agreed to a non-aggression pact, pledging to leave Earth untouched in exchange for their safe departure. As the old man finalized the deal, he leaned in close to the lead interrogator. Oh, and one more thing. Next time you think about targeting Earth, remember this moment. Remember how a single frail human turned your ship into a paperweight. Pass that along to your superiors, will you? Minutes later, the Shadow Strike docked with the Krelter vessel, and the old man was escorted aboard. The Earth crew greeted him with respectful nods, their faces a mixture of awe and relief. As the shadow strike pulled away, the old man stood by a viewport, watching the disabled Krelter ship shrink into the distance. He let out a quiet chuckle, shaking his head. "Still got it," he muttered to himself, a faint smile playing on his lips. Behind him, one of the crew members approached hesitantly. "Sir, we're ready to take you home. Anything else you need?" The old man turned, his gaze distant but content. "No, that'll do. Let's head back. Something tells me they've learned their lesson." As the Earth ship vanished into the void, cloaking itself once more, the Krelter were left adrift, silent, defeated, and forever wary of the unassuming planet they had underestimated.